Day 10. We headed off at around 9:30 am. It was another cool day with lots of cloud cover, but we only had a little rain all day. We had a cruisy ride out to our first stop of the day, the Beaconsfield Gold Mine. The mine is famous for a collapse that occurred in 2006 and has since been shut down. At 9:26 p.m. on the 25th of April 2006, there were 17 people working underground inside the mine when a small earthquake triggered an underground rockfall. 14 of the workers managed to escape, however, 3 weren't so lucky. One miner was killed in the initial rockfall, and the other 2 were trapped in a cage part of the vehicle they had been working in. They were able to survive by drinking water that seeped through the rocks overhead, and for food they had one muesli bar between them. They initially planned on waiting 24 hours before eating it, but they managed to hold off on eating it for 4 days before they began to eat small pieces at a time. 2 days after the collapse, the body of the deceased miner, the third person, was unearthed and retrieved. The decision was made to blast a new tunnel to the other 2 miners as it was too unsafe to continue through the rockfall. 5 days after the collapse, 2 rescuers breached safety protocols and made their way to the rockfall, where they began to yell out. The trapped miners yelled back, making this the first contact between them. The blasting was immediately stopped, and rescuers began drilling a small hole measuring 9 centimeters in diameter through the 14.5 meters of rock to the miners. This hole was lined with a pipe and used to deliver food, water, and communication equipment. They later received letters from their families, dry clothes, a torch, a camera, magazines, an iPod with their requested music of Kevin Bloody Wilson and the Foo Fighters. After overcoming many issues, the rescuers finally managed to free the 2 miners 14 nights after the collapse. This was a crazy ordeal that these miners made their way through, and I highly recommend checking out the Beaconsfield mine if you ever happen to be in the area. We continued on to the next destination, Seahorse World. Seahorses are an endangered species, and Seahorse World is the only place in Australia that is licensed to practice captive breeding and export live seahorses around the world. Seahorse World grew out of research work initiated at the University of Tasmania back in the 90s, and in 98 a commercial breeding project named Seahorse Australia. Seahorse World conducted guided tours that take you through the facility. They have various types of seahorses with info displayed next to each tank throughout the facility. The tour leads through the working seahorse farm and shows seahorses throughout the breeding cycle. After the farm, you are led into Southern Ocean Aquarium, where you can handle a live seahorse and check out some other marine species. Once we had finished at Seahorse World, we figured we should check out Platypus House, since it is just next door. Amazing enough, Platypus House is a great place to look at a platypus. Anyway, you get to see them swimming around in a massive tank, and the tour guide is very informative. We even got to see them being fed. Once you have done checking out the platypus, the tour leads into the echidna room, where there are a number of crazy little critters wandering around. Again, we were there for the feeding and got to hear all about them. One thing that was very interesting was that if you want to scare one off the road, you need to make noise moving towards them from one side of the road, as they will move away from the noise. But if the noise is too close, they will just dig into the road and not move. This is how many of them are killed. Anyway, after Platypus House, we headed back to the motel for the night. Another day done and dusted. Day 11. We decided to reduce the amount of things we had been carting around but hadn't used, so we bundled them all together and headed down to the local post office and then posted them home. On our way out, we ran into a local motorcycle rider who wanted to have a bit of a chat about the motorbike, so we chatted to him for a little bit. Then we headed off and caught up with Diesel and his missus at their place just nearby. After checking out their place, and having a bit of a chat, we headed off and did some more shopping, fueled the bike, and then went to the pie shop that Diesel recommended, Tinny's Pies. We picked up some nice pies from there, and then headed back through some nice back roads back to the motel, had the pies, and then just bummed around for the rest of the day. Day 12. We packed up and departed the hotel into another cold day with just a little bit of rain. We took Diesel's advice and headed off along Roseveras Road alongside the Tamar River. It was very scenic. We then headed off to Grindelwald in search of the Swiss village. We found it, but it appeared to be more a place to stay than somewhere to have a look around, so we continued on. We rode through back roads, through to Penguin, and on the way we spotted a few STs riding around. Penguin was named by the botanist Ronald Campbell Gunn for the little penguin rookeries that are common along the less populated areas of the coast. The little town has 26 heritage-listed sites in the CBD. This was mainly done to stop developers in the mid to late 2000s. Anyway, we had lunch at the Penguin and took some photos of the TARDIS and large penguin statue, when suddenly the wind picked up and blew my helmet off the seat of the bike onto the road. Luckily my helmet survived, however my visor did get some annoying scratches. Anyway, it was time to head off to Camp Banksia to begin the rally. I'll leave the video here and then start the next video with the beginning of the rally. Thanks for watching.